basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here with him. I was okay with it because it wasn't about...
It is time for the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, tag we along for the ride. Zoom and Pod, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. Guys, here we go. 107-89. Celtics beat Dallas in game one. Didn't see it coming. Jeff Goodman, all you.
I mean, didn't see it coming, yeah, but again, and Bob was there. I wasn't in the building, but the crowd seemed pretty amped up. The Celtics have been waiting for this one for a long time. And as I two things happened to me that stuck out. The two biggest things were obviously Porzingis. Sometimes this happens, right? After a long layoff, a guy comes back and he looks like not only has he not missed the beat, but, you know, he's playing better than he ever has. And I don't think we're going to see that Porzingis again this series. But he was so dominant early to give him that lead, to give him that confidence, to give on both ends of the court, not just offensively, where I think he had 18 points in like 12 minutes the first half, but defensively, to give him the rim protection and give him the shot blocking and shot altering that you just don't get from Big Al. You just don't. That was number one for me. And number two, that was clear as day watching Dallas, is if Luka and or Kyrie do not have a very good game, if one of them is off, Dallas has zero chance in this series, in those games. Zero. Derek Lively, I love him to death, but again, he can't do what he did in some of those other series. And same thing for Gafford, catching those lobs, especially with Porzingis on the court.
I want to get to where we started, but and since you brought up Lively, I've got some data on Gafford and Lively. And number one, no successful lobs to either one of them. They shot 100% from the floor as usual together on their dunks and putbacks, but not lobs. And they usually average a couple a game. Lively in the previous series against Minnesota was 16 for 16 on his dunks and lobs and stuff. And Gafford against Minnesota was 24 for 32. So together, they were 40 for 48 in the Minnesota series. Guess what, Dallas? That ain't going to happen anymore if Porzingis is out there. And it
Tatum.
did last night.
Tatum did a great job defensively on them also.
And by the way, one other thing about Tatum, he doesn't get enough credit for being a good traffic rebounder.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Become an excellent rebounder, getting rebounds that don't necessarily belong to him. That's the mark of a great rebound.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
But just so right, Jeff, about the two of those guys. I said if they are good enough to carry them past a vastly superior TEAM, more power to them. Fine, I'll live with that. I don't want to get beat by PJ Washington or by the Lively and Gafford duo or by Hardy or anybody else. Derek Nelson. I don't mind. I could live theoretically losing to those guys. Not that they're going to lose. They're going to win the series. But the Porzingis is self-evident. The play that will stick in my mind, the Bill Russell play, where he blocked the shot, retained the ball, and started the fast break. That was the thing that separated Russell from most all shot blockers of his time, was he didn't seek to knock it out of bounds and show off and give him another possession. Heinsohn used to tell me he used to pop it, not block it. He could direct it. And this is what, either intentionally or, it worked out that way. This is what he did on that one play when he blocked the jump shot of Irving and retained the ball and started the break. The defense, I think, guys, is going to be there. There's no reason the defense won't be there every night. He may not make the shots that he made last night every night. Okay, I was astonished at how well he shot. But the other stuff, why won't that be there? So and against this particular team, to take away their secondary source of offense, the primary source, of course, are these two stars. They got no other consistent source of offense other than what they were giving them with those lobs. If you take that away, they're screwed.
Yeah.
We saw last night what Brad Stevens had envisioned when he put this team together. We saw it. And if you take a look at the line, and there were some Tatum. I talked to some of my friends last night, and they were talking about Tatum being off. I go, Tatum being off. I go, no, no. He's doing what we've wanted him to do. I mean, 22 points for Brown, 16 points, 11 rebounds. Jeff pointed out 5 assists for Tatum. White had 15 points. Horford had 10 points. Holiday had 12 points. Porzingis had his 20. This is what we want. It was great.
And
Bob,
Tatum, when it got down to a little bit of an anxiety moment at 8, and I was worried.
Sure,
you've seen it. Tatum and Brown they went into the phone booth, as we used to say, and they came out and they did what they were supposed to pay.
They went to the hoop,
and they got the lead back up with a 14-0 run.
Right.
And it was those two that were primarily responsible. And Tatum stepped up. I'm glad that happened. I wasn't very happy at the moment seeing it at 8, but I'm glad that happened to see how they would react to that. And they reacted exactly the way they should have done. And they did exactly what you would want them to do at that moment and got it back up to 22. And, we knew at the end it would be Geno time. So absolutely, he's unfairly criticized. The burden's on him. He's penalized by the history of the Celtics and who's come before him and what people expect out of the supposed best player in the team. And I just hope he can deal with all this, and understand it's not fair, but I got to live with it.
Well,
but,
Jeff, if you understand basketball at all, you understand that Tatum played a great game last night. And I think everybody did. I mean, it was like everybody played a great game. We'll get to Brown in a minute because Brown has been super too. I mean, don't get me wrong, but like some people say, oh, Tatum only I go, you're out of your mind. You didn't watch the game. You didn't see what he was trying to do.
He had the best plus minus. I think it was Holiday.
He did. Well, no, actually, hang on. I think Tatum had like a 26 plus minus.
Okay.
Plus minus. Well, Tatum had a 19 plus minus. Holiday had a 20. But I mean, he had a 19 plus minus. I mean, like if you understand the game, you see that Jayson Tatum just put his ego aside and say, I'm going to do what's best for the team.
And again, they're doubling him every time, every chance they get. And the only thing I'd like to see him do a little bit less, sometimes he leaves his feet too much without knowing where he's going with the pass, and he'll have some careless turnovers. Okay. But again,
he said that in the post game. He said that in the post game. I had too many turnovers.
That's kind of nitpicking because again, he lets the game come to him, and instead of hearing all the critics, right, which he hears them, he hears them, and instead of saying, you know what, Jaylen Brown won Eastern Conference Finals MVP, I'm gonna win NBA Finals MVP here. I'm taking this one on my back, and I'm gonna score 30 or 40 tonight. What did he do? Like literally, he didn't force a shot in the first quarter. All he did was move the basketball, and especially when Porzingis got hot, beat him. Keep giving him the ball. That's maturity. That is maturity for Jayson Tatum. It's something that he could not have done and did not do 3-4 years ago. Right. And now understanding the bigger picture, which is, you know what? Like, I got a pretty damn good team around me, number one. And number two, like, if we don't win this thing, like, I'm going to get crucified. We got to win this. That's the most important thing than me getting 30.
Agreed.
Now, the most significant number that came out of this game, I'm not being facetious or hyperbolic, I mean it, was 1. And that was the number of assists that Doncic had.
Yeah.
And it's not just the points he scores, it's the production, it's the 30-point, 10 assist games that he lives off, and he had 1 assist. I looked it up, guys. That was the lowest. Well, they told us it was the lowest of the season. It was. I looked it up. On November 14th, he had 2 assists in a loss against the the Hornets, 131-110. On February 5th, he had 3 assists in a win over Philadelphia. And on March 12th, he had 3 assists in a 2-point win over Denver. Those are the previous lows for his season. And he had 1 assist. Now, you're not going to hold him to 1 every night, but that is just, if you say you know the game, you follow the game, that is an astonishing number based on who this guy is, really. For whatever reason.
Part of it is the lack of lobs, right? He wasn't throwing those. Usually he gets probably 2 or 3 anyway. 2 or 3 to Lively and Gafford that way. And if he's not doing that, he's not getting those other guys involved as much, right? That the Derek Joneses aren't making shots, and they need Derek Jones to give them something. PJ Washington, what do you have, 12 points? They need more than that on a night when Kyrie couldn't make shots. He made a couple tough shots, contested shots, but for the most part, Kyrie was way off. So you have to get PJ Washington involved. You have to get Lively going a little bit. And that's where it was all on Luka to score last night. And man, how much fun is he to watch, Bob, though? He's incredible.
I keep saying he can go wherever he wants to go at his pace.
Yeah.
And it does. You can't stop him from getting to the basket. He just gets there. And then then he's got to step back and from a ridiculous distance if he needs it. It's Nowitzki distance, on the step back. No, I totally enjoy watching him play.
Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up 100 times your cash. With Prize Picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. Now, if you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. The finals mean more on Prize Picks, and so do the star players. You get boosted playoffs on selected basketball stars that you won't find anywhere else. Now, this week on Prize Picks, I'm looking at Jayson Tatum, more than 26.5 points. Jaylen Brown, more than 3 threes, which may be aggressive, but I'm running with that. Download that app today and use a code CLNS for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
And what was the reception for Kyrie like? Tell me what it was like in the building.
Booze every time he
Did you have the same animosity watching Kyrie last night that you had 4 or 5 years ago?
No, because I've been trying to study what's been coming out of him. And I really think he's getting, remember what I used to say? He's searching for something in life, but doesn't know what it is. I think here in this place, in this context, with this particular teammate and this particular coach, apparently, and the Dake's environment, he's kind of almost found it. And he's not the same person, I don't think, specifically. And you know what? I'm not harboring ill will. I think he was a complicated person, and if that was the case, I think he always meant well in his own mind. He is personally very philanthropic. Let's get that straight, folks. He's very personally philanthropic. So there's a good person in there we just never saw enough of it. And so no, I didn't. No, to answer your question, they booed him every time he touched the ball. It was perfunctory, knee-jerk stuff, egged on by the media, national media that was predicting this. People didn't want to disappoint the national media, I don't think. Right. And then there was the Kyrie sucks, which I hate. We don't need that. But that was there. But it was, it was pretty much what you expect.
I also thought it was interesting. Jaylen Brown had a big block on Kyrie, right?
Yes.
So I was listening, I was listening to our old friends there with Felger and Maz, and Jaylen complimented Kyrie, said he's one of my friends, so forth and so on. And of course, they were talking about, I hate that, why can't we? Why do they have to be friends? That wasn't an issue on the court.
No.
And that is today's NBA. Jeff can talk to that. That is today's NBA. The players are friends, and that's just the way it is. The Bob Gibson days are ancient history. The Larry Bird days, if you will, are history. That's just the way it is. I didn't see any problem last night, Jeff.
No. And Jaylen Brown, we haven't even got to him yet. But man,
no, we got to get to him because that's another.
The defense is back. That's the key with Jaylen Brown to me. Obviously, the handle's much better. And I think the handle now, I think last year in the postseason, obviously his handle's not great, but then it gets into your head as well.
Right.
So I think it became a mental thing for him as much as anything as the playoffs kind of went on last year. Now, I think it's the other way. He's got that confidence coming off this performance in the last series, and that kind of, I'm going to go to the basket because I was worried. I was worried. Derrick Jones, he hasn't seen anybody like Derrick Jones defensively. Now, they started Derrick Jones on Tatum. So that is obviously their game plan was, hey, try to cut Tatum off here because Derek Jones is an elite defender. He's an elite defender. I wonder if that'll change it all for game 2, and they'll move him to Jaylen Brown a little bit more. I don't know. But Jaylen Brown's defense, especially in that third quarter, in that stretch, was remarkable. And that's the way, to me, he played earlier in his career defensively. He was that. And then he went into a kind of a rut for a few years where you just didn't see that Jaylen Brown defensively. I don't know where he went.
So all in all, it was a very encouraging performance. To answer questions we had, the layoff obviously was irrelevant. The Porzingis, we can't say enough about what an extraordinary performance that was in the context, and not to expect something like that every night at the offensive end. But there's no reason why they won't get the defensive necessary defense out of him. And it was all, and the fact that they answered when they got down to 8, that they did the right stuff and
they took over. So
that was good,
Bob. Which brings me to this point because I was actually texting with my old colleague Trenny last night, and we were talking. I was texting with Trenny and a bunch of people, and I said, and she says, "Boy, after leaving the business, you've mellowed." I go, "I have. Yes, I have. I have mellowed. I'm a little happier. I'm not always thinking about what I have to say to make people angry every day." Okay. But I think what we need to accept with this team is that the success of the club depends on both Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. We have, because of the star power of the NBA and the first names, LeBron, Magic, Larry, Michael, we have this idea.
Kobe.
Who?
Shaq, Kobe.
Yeah, Shaq, Kobe. We have
first name league.
Right, first name league. We have this idea in our heads that it's got to be one guy. Well, I think Jayson Tatum is a wonderful player, and I think he's a wonderful person, and he's a good dad, and he seems there's nothing to dislike about the guy.
I've told you that. I've told you that.
You've told me that for years.
He's awesome.
But Tatum and Brown need each other, and I think that's okay. I mean, they just do. I mean, and that's fine because I don't think Tatum is Kobe. I don't think Brown is Kobe. I don't think Tatum is Magic. I don't think these two players are those guys. They're just a little bit below, but put them together and surround them. Forget about it. I mean,
it is what it is, right? Like,
that's what we have to accept. Like it's
Jayson Tatum, probably Luka's a better player. There are 3 or 4 probably players that are better than Jayson Tatum. He's somewhere in that 4 to 7 range, probably in the league right now. Jaylen Brown is probably somewhere in the 15 to 20 range, or maybe you go 10 to 20 range in the NBA right now. But yes, you put them together, and I hate it when people are like, "Oh, they're so similar." Like,
they're not.
There's nothing similar about them. There's zero. What? They're both like what? I don't even know what it is.
They both shoot threes. I mean, that's it.
What is it? There's nothing similar. Jayson Tatum is more versatile. He passes it better. He makes people better. He's more chill than Jaylen. Jaylen is elite in the open court. Neither one is an elite shooter from 3, but both can get going. They're both capable. Like, Jaylen could be an elite defender. Jayson Tatum could be a very good defender. Like, they're not even close to similar. So I'm so sick and effing tired of that because, like you said, Gary, what makes them great together is they're not similar.
Right.
Their strengths and weaknesses play well off one another.
Yeah, that's good. I agree with that.
Game Time makes getting NBA Finals tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the tip-off. Like right now, I was looking on the app, and it's really easy to use. Just download the app. Lots of pictures for us sports fans. Lots of pictures. And, the tickets for Celtics Game 1 and whoever they play, between $600-$700. But the closer you get to actual tip time, it's going to go down. So you and your friends may do a last-minute thing. And I know it's a lot of money, but maybe it's 2-3 of your friends. Last-minute trip, boom, let's go. Let's see what the tickets are on Game Time. You never know. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. Okay, here's the deal. Last-minute deals save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Now, the flash dealers save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. Save even more when you choose a section for the zone deals. You choose a section, let Game Time choose the seats. Sounds pretty good to me. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
I agree with that. That guy, by the way, guys, if they win game 2, history tells us they have only lost one series ever up 2-0 in their
What's
history.
that? Yeah, when's that?
Cleveland in 18.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
And that's it. They so winning game 2 is generally speaking gets you
It'll be a different game. I
on
mean,
the way.
we know it's going to be
It'll be a different game, but then again, the Celtics. Pritchard's not going to go for 6 or whatever the hell he was either next game, by the way. So he'll be heard from.
It'll be somebody else. And the reality is, as we have seen and history tells us, all of these games are individuals. There's no
question. I mean, and just to remind people that need to be reminded, and we're happy to have people that were not remotely born when these things happen that are part of our audience. But those of us who were around will always remember 1985. There's no way getting around it. The 148 to 114. Scott Webben went 11 for 11. Oh, by the way, they were up by 25 when he entered the game, but that's okay. He went 11 for 11, and 3 nights later they lost and they went up losing in 6 games to the Lakers. Now that was a Laker team with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. That's a whole other dynamic about how Kareem brooded in the hotel room for 3 days and he came out with fire and had the most rebounds he had in 10 years in game 2. How about that? So, he had 17 rebounds. Hadn't done that in 10 years. And
Kyrie better do whatever Kareem did. He might want to call Kareem and find out what Kareem did. In those days in between, because Kyrie need to come out and probably go for 25 or 30 and make it efficient.
I would tell you what a really very touching part of the evening was, guys. The heroes among us was Zdeno Chara in the second period. For his myriad of civic contributions that he's made and is making right now. The marathons he runs are for charity. He didn't do that just to show off. Really? And but he does other stuff. And I've been ever since they instituted this second period policy. I've been to many of them, and people always stand up and give a perfunctory applause because somebody saved kid from a fire and somebody's done this and all wonderful people. But this reaction was by far the greatest reaction that I've seen at the Heroes Among Us in any night I've ever been to the Garden since they did it for Chara. Which was it was really sweet. And he couldn't. I think he was blown away. I really don't think he ever imagined that the basketball crowd would treat him in that manner, the way they did. Of course, he's standing there with an 18 jersey on. He is 6'9". He looked very appropriate in that jersey, But I thought that was a really, really nice touch. And whoever came up with that one, that was pretty good.
It was also good. They had the Walton shirts.
Yep. The Walton shirts, which I didn't know about until today, because when I sit up in the boonies, in the rafters, you had no idea. But I saw them finally this morning. That was a nice touch. Nice tribute to Bill, video tribute to Bill, and it was very well. It was very nice. It was a great night to be a Celtic fan. It was a great night all around.
Before we go, guys, I just have two things I want to touch on real quick here. I want to talk about Holiday, and I want to talk. White was great too. I mean, I don't. He made. I want to talk about Holiday for a minute, and then I want to talk about Mazzulla. But the thing I loved about Holiday last night, again, giving the game what it needed, that up and under layup that he made, was a brilliant play. I mean, I forgot who the defender was. I don't even. And that the guy had no chance. I've
seen it before. He is really. That's at least the second, if not the third time he's done it in the playoffs. It's part of his repertoire. He's just a clinic.
He is.
And the other guys too. We're so lucky. The backcourt is. I'm telling you, it's got to be the envy of every coach in the league to have two of them. As I said, it's almost not fair. One per customer would be fair, but to have two of them. No, you're right. Colin Holiday. I was texting with a certain former coach of the Celtics who now coaches another team in the East. Okay.
Yeah.
And I said something about, how about that Porzingis, huh? And he comes back and says, and Holiday. That was his immediate response.
Yeah.
That coach who used to coach you and now coaches another team in the East. That's what he had to say. And Holiday. So
they're all, I mean, again,
they're all pro.
Together.
I mean, this is Brad Stevens.
That's
tremendous.
The key. Like you said at the start of this, Gary. Like
we got a very quick getaway. I got to get to Jeff because this is fascinating. Jeff, I'm going to put one name at you. Yeah. Your reaction. Yeah. Chase Budinger.
No, I thought you were going to throw the one name you need.
I know you're expecting a name of a certain coach in
all right.
We'll do that next week. When he takes the job, we'll do it. All right.
We should do it for a couple minutes now.
All right.
That's fine. Chase Budinger. So I knew this. Obviously, I went to school at Arizona. So
yes.
I knew what a great beach volleyball player he was when he went to school at Arizona. I saw him playing AU basketball. He played on I think he played on a team with Kevin Love, Daniel Hackett. Like he played Brandon Jennings.
He's a big deal. I know.
One of the best I've ever seen, the Southern Cal All-Stars. And you heard these stories about how great Budinger was, better in volleyball than he was in basketball. Well, he plays 8 years in the NBA. I think he went overseas for maybe a year. And then I kind of heard about it. Like he's going to give it a try again on the beach volleyball tour. And then there you have it.
He makes the team. He's 36.
Yeah,
I love it. I love multi-sport. I love it. This is a great story.
Really cool.
Okay. And I knew, hey, we got a fellow alum to still, give us the inside story here. This is great. Okay, Danny. Yeah, what's your take?
So Dan Hurley, this was the big thing, Gary, that, obviously has consumed me for the last 24 or 48 hours, whatever. It's been 36 hours now, is Dan Hurley meeting with the Lakers today. And kind of came out of nowhere a little bit because, again, Shams had reported that it was going to be J.J. Redick. Everybody kind of just assumed that was the case. I've seen and talked to Danny multiple times in the last couple of weeks. I don't think he got serious until the last couple of days. I don't. I think, there were some conversations between Rob Pelinka and Brett Just, Dan Hurley's agent, but I don't think it ever went very far. And then it started to, okay, you're our guy. You're the guy we want. And, oh, by the way, we're going to pay you such and such. And Danny Hurley's not – the money isn't going to be obviously the deciding factor here. But when you're talking about potentially – making $75 million, let's say, on a 6-year deal with the Lakers, somewhere in that vicinity. I think it's going to be about $12 million a year, or $8 million a year for 6 years with the UConn. I mean, that's $25 million. That's a pretty significant difference here. So I think ultimately for Dan Hurley, though, it's going to be, do I want the challenge? I've been in my brother's shadow and even my dad's shadow for the better part of my life. Right, I was a decent player, but not a great player at Seton Hall. My brother was the All-American. My dad was the All-American high school coach, the Hall of Fame coach.
He's the Hall of Famer. I was there.
Finally, it's been about Dan Hurley the last couple of years, and you wonder if it's just like, hey, you know what? Like, I think he should take a shot at it. I do. I don't want to lose him in college, but I think he should take a shot because
one quick question.
Worst case scenario, Bob, you go back in a couple of years. If it doesn't work out, you're going to get the best college job in a couple years. Absolutely.
That's the thing. He's 51. He'll be employable for 20 more years.
Right.
Okay. Automatically, people are saying UConn's is another top 5 team coming back. They got 2 transfers. Tell me what you know about Taris Reed Jr. of Michigan and Aiden Mahaney of St. Mary's and their number 1 5-star recruit, Liam McNeely. Are they?
So I've seen them all. Yeah, I've seen them all. Liam McNeely was scheduled to go to Indiana. Just knows how to play. Good size, moves the ball, can shoot the hell out of it. Aiden Mahaney came from St. Mary's. Didn't have a great year this past year. One of the better guards in the portal, can really score, shoots it well, can play the point. Taris Reed played at Michigan, big kid, gives him that defensive presence. The big one was they got Alex Caravan, South.
I know. It comes back. Absolutely.
Yeah, they got him back last week.
Yes,
So
I know.
they have a top 3 team. They are capable, fully capable of going back to back to back and three-peating for the first time since Bill Walton's UCLA teams in the 70s.
No, they didn't make 3. They got beat the third year. You got to go back to the UCLA
the Wooden team. I'm sorry,
Wooden team, because they got beat by North Carolina State. That was the thing in the semifinals in '74.
So,
nobody. Oh, they're the only UCLA in that year was the only team that ever did it, but it wasn't Walton.
I think
Sindor did it.
So does he do it? I've been told this could go either way. This really could go either way. The bigger question here I've had, and I've talked to Dan about it, even the NBA a little bit in the past, and NBA guys have asked me about him. And I just looked at it like, I don't think he can do it because his ego and the way he acts on the sidelines, he can act like a complete child at times, and the way he goes at refs, I just don't know if he works. Now, again, X's and O's, he works. He's terrific. He would have to change.
My sense is he will reinvent himself if he has to, easily. Not easily, but he'll. Oh no, you can't act the way he acts in the NBA. You can't.
Who has? Give me. Is there ever been a coach, ever, Bob, who's acted like Dan Hurley on the sidelines?
Not in my 55 years. No, there might have been somebody before that. No, I mean, no. You
who's
just
the
don't have
closest
that.
thing? Who's the closest thing? The most flammable guy that would go after refs and rile up the crowd.
Tommy?
Some of the stuff Dan does is who?
Tommy?
You know who riled up the crowd, but he wasn't necessarily. He used to orchestrate. It was Vitale when he was with the Pistons.
Yeah.
But
there you go. But I mean, Heinsohn. Heinsohn used to. That's the only guy I got.
No, I'll tell you what, Jeff. I'll think about that and see if I can have an answer for you when we reconvene, because I don't have one off the top of my head.
Yeah, and as we're recording this, Friday, about noon. Dan Hurley is meeting with the Lakers brass right now, Jeannie Buss and Rob Pelinka. Obviously it would be interesting to see. LeBron had tweeted about him, when they won their title, about how impressed he was with their offense, all that. I'll say this too, guys. Dan Hurley, out of the lines, is one of the most charismatic people you're going to meet. He really is.
Yeah.
He really is.
I mean, that, when I saw, I can't remember who ran the piece. Was it CBS or ESPN? And the reason I think, you know better than me, Jeff, but as an outsider looking in, the reason I think it'll work is because I saw how he went through an emotional situation when he was in high school or college. He thought he wasn't going to play basketball again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he had a tough time mentally. And look, mental health is a pandemic in this country. It just is. We all need to be aware. We have stepped up as a society, I think, in addressing this. And I think he's well aware of that. And if you're of that mindset, when you go into the NBA, you understand that you're dealing with the best players in the world. And I think he's a great X's and O's coach, but I think that his players will jump in front of a truck for him. And
they will.
They will. And I think he can get an NBA guy to do that. Not the same way, but I think he can get he's not going to get on their ass every night, but I think he can get the NBA guy to do that.
No, he's very positive with his players. He will kill refs, but he is very, very positive with his players. And the other thing that will separate Dan Hurley from 90% of the NBA coaches is he will outwork all of them.
Right.
All of them. Relentless. I mean, he'll say it he's about as screwed up of and he'll say, I'm a Hurley. Andrea Hurley, the greatest line came from his wife, Andrea, who would always tell me, if we lose, Danny's miserable. If we win, Danny's miserable.
Yeah.
That's just how he was. He's just wired differently. And I think, yes, he's got to change and adapt and do it quickly. My bigger problem is, can you really win with a 40-year-old LeBron and still a brittle Anthony Davis?
It's about personnel. He needs players. Right. It's about personnel.
Yes.
That's a whole other topic at the construction of that roster. And then if and when it happens, we can get into that.
Yeah, we can get to it then. But that's the bigger issue. But hey, when it comes to, listen, UConn on the doorstep of winning another one, but the way that the Payers are getting played now in college, and everything is changing in college. It's coaches don't have as much control as they once did. I mean, God, what's the difference, right? I mean, who knows? Guys, we got to go. Bob, thank you very much. Jeff Goodman, always a pleasure. Brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Pick more, pick less. It is always that easy with Prize Picks.